So everything has gone crazy again in the world of professional wrestling because yesterday, just before SmackDown, it came out that maybe, just maybe, there's some political fun going on backstage at WWE, and the current planned main event for WrestleMania 41, at least one of the nights, is CM Punk versus flipping Roman Reigns. Now you may have seen this Care Bear that's just sat right there for no reason because wrestling's too negative and a Care Bear can never be negative, even though it's the negative Care Bear. Even he would like professional wrestling, but man, am I enjoying the direction that WWE is going. Because let's not forget, it's all rumors, it's all speculation. Nobody really knows deep down in their tootsie toes. Probably not even WWE, because this report that came out from Fightful Select, shout out to Fightful, is basically based on the idea, I think maybe this is my own sort of opinions going into the mix, but based on the idea that The Rock isn't going to be at WrestleMania 41. And of course, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, could ring up WWE today and say, oh, hi, I am going to be in WrestleMania 41. And the plans would totally change. I mean, that's essentially what happened last year. And again, The Rock versus Roman Reigns, if you can do that match, especially after what we did 12 months ago, I should say back at WrestleMania 40, is still going to get people amped, it's going to get people pumped, as is The Rock versus Cody. All of these things will actually ties into what I want to talk about today. And I have another video going up about this next week too. But there is just so much you can do at WrestleMania 41. To the point, I'm taking this argument. Do not make me make a specific video about this because it's absolutely pointless. But I'm taking this idea that, oh, if you main event Saturday night, it's not the real main event. Kiss my behind. It's not the actual main event. I mean, for starters, we had that tag team match in the WrestleMania 41 Saturday main event. The year before that was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens. We also had that amazing tag team match between Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and the Usos. All of that made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. So the concept of a two-night WrestleMania is still pretty new, and I'm going to be at the front of the army fighting on behalf of that being a proper WrestleMania main event, and you're allowed to walk around and tell people that you're a WrestleMania main eventer. But given everything we did do at Survivor Series, which actually I think probably ties into WWE's thinking, if they did truly do, and I'm sure there is some truth to it, over 100 million social media views when it comes to all the Roman Reigns and Punk stuff being stuck in the War Games cage together, you want to strike while the iron is hot. Too many times in pro wrestling, and I can understand it. We have waited and we've waited because we think we've got that in our back pocket and we've already got our plans, so we can be a bit patient here. And you always should be patient. But sometimes I think if something does gangbuster analytics, just give the people what they want, especially because wrestling is always in a state of flux. Again, go back to the Royal Rumble. Nobody wanted or thought Punk was going to get injured, and it actually turned out for the best because that Drew McIntyre feud was fantastic. Roman Reigns' future? Don't know. CM Punk's future? We don't know. So if you have a WrestleMania 41 show that's like 4 months away, whatever plans with The Rock, let's say he's not going to be there, it should be on the table, and our creative ideas should be being written down right now because there is so much we can do with it. Who does Paul Heyman tee with? What does it turn out the CM Punk favor is? Is it that he gets to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and Paul Heyman has pulled the strings? Then all of a sudden you've added more animosity into that as well, because Paul Heyman is meant to be Roman Reigns' friend too, but now he has gone back to CM Punk. And actually, I'm probably forgetting something here, but my wrestling brain tells me that CM Punk was way nicer to Paul Heyman than Roman Reigns ever was. Roman was really horrible to Paul Heyman. You can go through and find many instances of this, but that was Roman's character, the head of the table, the tribal chief, always a bit of a negative Nancy, and now I suppose he's found his way, although still never apologized to anyone. But I also kind of like that because I think it ties into deeper wrestling, where even though he has gone babyface, he's not coming out hugging babies or anything like that, he's still Roman Reigns. I think more people should try and get away with that because it's excellent. But that would just be one of those matches where I'd have no idea what we were going to do. Right now, it's also incredibly intriguing because does one of them become the world heavyweight champion? What happens to Seth Rollins? What happens to Gunther? Does that mean we are going to do Cody versus The Rock on Sunday night if The Rock's not there? Is it going to be Cody versus a Randy Orton? Is that big enough for the Sunday? Does it mean that Roman Reigns versus CM Punk could actually be Sunday and we do Cody on Saturday? What does that say about Cody's character in the WWE title? It is incredible that there is so many directions, once again, using the same phrase that we can go in. But that's why it's so great and exciting to be a wrestling fan. And ultimately, no matter what WWE decides to do, as long as it's executed in a proper way, you're going to come out the other end with more stars. If it is anything to do with that World Heavyweight Championship that is still relatively brand new, you're going to add a bunch of credence onto that thing. And I'm sure stuff we're seeing happening now, especially on that Netflix Raw 6th of January debut, is going to be in the state of play both leading in and leading out of WrestleMania. And there's that rumor that Drew McIntyre is going to become a proper tippity top guy. Could that be what we do at WrestleMania 41? Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. And I would guess, maybe I'm being a negative Nancy, I don't mean to because I don't think this. So some people may be like, well, that's not big enough for WrestleMania. I disagree. I think if you can continue Drew on the current path that he is on, you can turn him into this absolute warrior of death. and everybody wants to be a wad. That's basically the dream. So I'm so excited to see what we can do here. And again, I'm always very much of the ilk that we should just pull the trigger and get stuff done, because nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring, especially in the world of sports entertainment. And another reason that I massively wanted to talk about it is because usually this is when we sit down and discuss SmackDown. There ain't a lot to say. It was a tape show. It was a very by-the-numbers show. If you don't want to watch it, I'd implore you to go watch Ups and Downs on What Culture, because I had a lot of fun on that show. I had a lot of dumb skits. Subscribe to them. Please do subscribe to me as well. And go to grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon. Get 10% off the brand new sponsors of Simon Miller Fitness YouTube channel launching in 2025. But, I mean, like, the main event was mostly there to set up stories for down the line. I'm convinced that Naomi is the person to beat up Che Gargill because she was way too nice to Bianca Belair, but they are now the kind of pseudo-new tag team champions. Obviously, there was more shenanigans between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. I think she should cash in on that January 6th show. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to do that because Nia Jax doesn't have a match, but I think we're getting past the point of no return here. We should do it as fast as possible. I really did enjoy seeing Johnny Gargano and Alex Shelley have a match on WWE SmackDown, because as a man who has been watching those guys fight on the indie scene or outside of WWE for many years, I was like, this is totally surreal. I feel like I've fallen into the Phantom Zone. And I said this as well, and I'll double down on it here. The crowd weren't great, not just for that match, but for the entirety of the show. And you can do whatever you want at a wrestling event. That's totally up to you. You paid your hard-earned money. But that was my only sort of disappointment with it. But I do totally understand. And again, I could have enjoyed it during the pandemic, I think. So just flabbergasted that we'd actually got here. And I do like the DIY versus Motor City Machine Gun feud. Again, maybe on that January 6th Raw, or maybe on the last SmackDown of the year, or maybe, you know, moving towards the Raw Rumble. I think WWE should give them a solid 15 to 20 minutes and go, just go out there and cook, bros. And I think they'll give you one of those matches they probably had time and time again outside of the WWE walls. And it'll be totally brilliant. And I think we'll talk about it for a long time to come. So I hope we do that. And that also put it in my brain as well, talking about SmackDown in 2025. It's official. Going to 3 hours, which I don't personally like, but again, wrestling isn't made for me, so it's totally fine. I just think that SmackDown has always been such a good show at 2 hours, and they've been doing it so long at 120 minutes. They've got the format and the structure down, and it's so effortlessly watchable. And because Raw is about to go to 3 hours, you know, as well, we are going from the 4 hours we have now, because obviously Raw doubled back down, to the 2 hours too, and we're whacking it up to the big 6. And I think there's probably a strategy in this, because how the hell is anyone going to have enough time to watch every single promotion that's out there? So if you are dedicating at least 6 hours, if not 8 hours with NXT to WWE, you probably are less likely to watch other promotions. So maybe there's something in that, I don't know. But it's a lot, and it's certainly a lot of your brand new viewer, I would say that. You have to bring that into the equation. Like if my friend, I don't know, Paul, right, Paul, how you doing? All of a sudden wants to start watching wrestling, and I have to tell him, or watching WWE, and I have to tell him, well, 6 hours minimum a week, he's going to be like, what? It's why so many people watch the YouTube packages. They watch sort of the shortened down versions that do go out on Hulu, etc. Does that still happen? Probably not. But I am massively fascinated to see how this works out. I think it could get a little bit laborious in a year's time, but we shall wait and see. But yeah, that match was fine. I enjoy the fact we're doing that feud. And I actually quite like the Carmelo Hayes, Braun Strowman stuff, because I've convinced myself, probably wrongly, that Carmelo Hayes is going to beat Braun Strowman eventually. And Carmelo Hayes is just so good. His promo he cut, his little looks to the camera, the fact that he was able to smash Braun Strowman with a steel chair before the night was over. I think he totally understands wrestling, and he gets you take what you're given and you make the most out of it. And he will benefit from that going forward. I also desperately need to see Braun Strowman in Pretty Deadly the Musical. We put Braun Strowman and the Grayson Waller effect. They had the strangest back and forth I've seen in ages. They talked over each other. Braun Strowman was getting mad over nothing, to the point I was siding with Grayson Waller, which I don't think was the idea. Also, don't understand what we're doing. Waller and Theory, I think they have a good relationship and a good tag team, and they're good individually, so we should be doing more. But listen, if all of this does give me a Pretty Deadly Musical, and it gives me Carmelo Hayes eventually getting the win, I got no problem with that at all. And because I think Carmelo may be going to Raw, I think he's going to have a really good 2025. By the end of 2025, I think he'll be a mid-card champion, either an IC champion or a US champion, and that will be awesome. And I did like the stuff at the start, because Drew McIntyre, as we've already kind of touched upon, is just the best right now. He interrupts Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline and says, dude, I'm going to get you eventually as well. You're the guy that pulled the referee out at Clash of the Castle 1. Now, of course, there is no such show as Clash of the Castle 1, but we put a 1 on it, so you know which one I'm talking about. But he's happy for Solo Sikoa to do away with Roman Reigns, and he does respect the fact he stood up to him, but then he's going to murder him in his sleep. Now, of course, Solo Sikoa is not going to do away with Roman Reigns. So eventually Drew McIntyre is going to get mad about that too. Drew is just great. He's just a interesting, fascinating human being that speaks the truth but does it in such an asshole way that he does come across as a heel, but there is more to this, which is why, again, I'm excited about that rumor. And that did then go into a big 6-man tag, which was the Bloodline 2.0, taking on LA Knight, Andrade, and Apollo Crews, which is the strangest team ever. And Jimmy Uso also got his revenge on Drew McIntyre by whacking him with a crutch, as you would do. Now, the Bloodline won here because they had to, so as the Cole looked strong at the end, because he is going into that big tribal combat match with Roman in a few weeks' time. Kind of intrigued what we're going to do with LA Knight. The Shinsuke Nakamura feud is going to continue because Shinsuke attacked him as well. But all of that does kind of seem like it's fallen away a little bit. Like when you compare it to Raw, the IC Championship right now with this match with Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser is kind of firing on all cylinders right now, whereas the US Championship, I don't know, it still feels wishy-washy to me. Love Shinsuke Nakamura's new character. Obviously, LA Knight is a mega over babyface that everybody loves him, but maybe something to look at in 2025. We'll have to wait and see. And the Kevin Owens backstage promos in a darkened room, because why wouldn't he be? He did exactly what we thought he was going to do. Cody's out. He's got a neck brace now. He's been totally destroyed. And Kevin Owens was, I didn't do anything wrong. I should be the WWE champion. So as I did get absolutely boinked over, I'm going to carry around Cody's Winged Eagle title belt until I get what I want. If I don't get that, I'm going to snap for real. You think I've snapped so far? You don't know your Rice Krispies at all. So we are going to do a third match between them, maybe at the Royal Rumble, maybe a ladder match, maybe on that Raw show, because again, they do want to make it feel like WrestleMania. And that also ties into what we chatted at the beginning of this video, is what do you do with Kevin Owens? I think it's going to be Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. I think we planted those seeds, and the story is right there. I would love it if that was for the World Heavyweight Championship, but I can't see it happening, very, very sadly. And it also probably means that when Cody does bounce off this, he goes into something with Randy Orton. Now, that's going to be probably in January. Can you stretch that all the way out to April for WrestleMania? I'm not so sure. So I'm very excited about all this. Again, very drab episode of SmackDown. Don't watch it. Well, you can watch it, but there's nothing there you need to get overly excited about. And we had everything with I thought we talked about Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. We don't need to go back to that, but it's fine. It's the end of the year, and WWE on large has done such a good job of staying interesting month to month, because usually if you're an old school fan, you know, post WrestleMania there'd be a lull for 3 months. I'm so bored. I'm so bored of all of this because we didn't do anything. We'd have random matches. Go look up random pay-per-views from the summer like 10 years ago. You won't believe some of the people that did face off. So we're getting into WrestleMania mode. This Raw show on January 6th, I know we keep going on about it, but WWE is really going to use that as a huge stepping off period, which is why the CM Punk Seth Rollins match is so interesting. What the hell does Seth Rollins do at WrestleMania if we are going to do Punk versus Roman? But I think we should do Punk versus Roman. Again, why the hell not, right? There's no point standing on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. It's clearly something that has the WWE Universe's attention. We know that. We've got the analytics. We've done the litmus test. And I just, take the main event of SmackDown last night. No jeopardy whatsoever. Nia Jax and Candice LeRae were never going to win the women's tag team titles, and sometimes that's totally fine. But with Punk versus Roman, it's not only from a watching it on screen point of view where you're not going to know, but again, a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. Who gets the nod? Who gets the rub? You know, who is going to benefit more from winning? Roman doesn't lose that much, but CM Punk, has he lost once yet? I mean, he has, but sort of by shenanigans and by dubious means. And that makes it more exciting because we're all nerds deep down and we like to keep an eye on the news and the behind-the-scenes reportings. And we also know that in the past, CM Punk and Roman Reigns have had some friction. Again, different video for a different day. But count me in, baby. Shouldn't have said that. I'm massively excited. Now, please do let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click that video on the screen, which is me ranting and raving about the Tribal Chief Championship, which also ties into this nonsense, and I'm actually getting more on board with the idea because it's so utterly redonkulous. Then, of course, GorillaMind.com, sponsor my channel and my new fitness channel. When you go there, use code Simon, you get 10% off. And come follow me and say hello at SimonMiller316, Patreon.com/SimonMiller316, ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller. Simon on Cameo if you want any happy holidays messages. Really enjoyed doing them recently. And Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Say goodbye to the Care Bear. Remember, always be a positive Pete when it comes to wrestling, because why the flub not? Oh, I caught him. That was good. Stay there. Goodbye.